Jesus commanded us to go and to make disciples. So after we've had the joy of sharing the gospel with someone, and then they believe the gospel and they tell us, yes, I want to follow Jesus, we may wonder, what do I do next? How do I help this new believer follow through on their commitment to walk with God? How can I help train them and teach them to get them started in following Jesus like they decided that they wanted to do? So what I'm going to do in this training video is I am going to give you a simple and effective way to train new believers to follow Jesus. The first thing that I encourage you to do when you're to help a new believer follow Jesus is to set a regular time to meet together for discipleship training, okay? I would encourage you preferably to set a time to meet with them at least weekly, at least once a week you want to meet. Now, of course, if your schedule and their schedule permits and you want to get together more frequently than that, by all means, go for it, have fun, build a good friendship together. But you want to at least weekly set a regular time to meet with them where they put it in their schedule, you put it in your schedule, so it is going to happen regularly, consistently, and you can help train them. Also, this is a time, and make it clear to them, this is a time we're going to meet for discipleship training specifically. It's not just going to be a time where we're hanging out, playing golf, playing video games, going shopping together, just drinking coffee. You can do that after the discipleship meeting or before it, whatever it is, but make sure that this training meeting is that. It is a training meeting, okay? And to help you with that, I encourage you to use the consistent format for all of your discipleship training meetings together, okay? So I have a format that I use and that I'm going to show you here. The 4 parts of a discipleship meeting that I use are, every time we meet, I start off with prayer and worship. Usually this takes about 5 minutes or so. After that, we go into Bible study, which takes about 20 to 30 minutes. And then we move into the third portion of our training meeting, which is training, where I train them in a practice, a life skill that will help them walk with God. That usually takes 10 to 15 minutes, that part of the meeting. And then finally, I always end every meeting, the 4th part, is goal setting and accountability. And where I help them set goals. What are they going to do to grow in their walk with Jesus? What are they going to do this week to go and share the gospel, make disciples? And so those are the 4 parts. I do that. I follow that format every single time I meet with the new disciples for every training meeting. And I would encourage you to have a consistent format because after the first meeting or two, they know what to expect and they'll come and they'll take it seriously and it'll really help them grow. So I encourage you to do that. So here, I want to show you this. This is the worksheet. I call this the disciple-making worksheet, the 5 habits of a fruitful life. And this worksheet is the worksheet I use to train all new believers in the initial phase of discipleship. And so I'll meet with them. The 4 parts of a discipleship meeting that I just described to you are right here in the top left-hand corner. And for the prayer and the worship part, I start off, I'll usually ask them, hey, what are you thankful for? And what is one thing that you want to see God do? After they share that, I'll share the same thing, something I'm thankful for, something that I want to see God do. And then I tell them, hey, I'll pray first. I'm going to tell God, thank you for the thing I'm thankful for, and ask him to do the thing I want to see him do. And then when I'm done, you do that too. And then I pray, and then they pray, and that takes about 5 minutes or so. After that, we go into the Bible study portion. For the Bible study portion of the training meeting, takes about 20 to 30 minutes. I use the same format as I use for the Discovery Bible Study, which I trained you how to do in a previous video on this playlist. So what I do is I pick a book of the Bible, and usually I start in one of the Gospels, and we'll just read through the whole book, 1 chapter at a time. When we get together, we'll read a chapter, and then I'll ask them the 5 discovery questions. What does this teach us about God? What does this teach us about people? What does this teach us to believe? What does this teach us to do? And the final question is, I'm drawing a blank right now. What stood out to you in this passage most? And so I'll ask them those 5 questions and then let them answer that. We'll talk about that for 20 or 30 minutes. Finally, I move into the 3rd part of the training meeting, which takes usually 5 to 15 minutes, and that's part number 3. And what I do in that part is I have 5 practices, life practices that I want to train them to begin implementing into their lifestyle. that will help them connect with God. Those 5 practices are getting baptized, okay? Obeying God, so we focus on getting them baptized right away. Second, I teach them how to read the Bible regularly. I teach them how to have a prayer plan. I teach them to have a plan for fellowshipping with other believers, their church fellowship plan. And then finally, I teach them how to have a disciple-making plan, how to go make disciples. Because I know if they'll do these 5 things for the rest of their life, if they'll obey Jesus, read the Word, pray, fellowship with other believers, and make disciples, they are going to live a fruitful life. Absolutely. So right away, I train them in these practices. And so each training meeting, during the training portion of the meeting, I train them in a different skill, in a different practice. And I'll show you how to do that, each one of those, how I do it on the training videos that will be coming next in the playlist. But on this worksheet, I actually have the outline of how to walk them through training them in each one of these 5 practices. And so finally, in the 4th part of a discipleship training meeting, I have the goal setting and accountability. Usually takes 5 to 10 minutes, and I shared that with you earlier, what it looks like. So you can download, if you are interested, you can download this worksheet for free for yourself by clicking on the link that's posted below this video. You click on the link and you can download and as many copies of this worksheet. You can print off as many as you want and use it. If it's beneficial to you, feel free to adjust it and tweak it, make it your own. And but it's a great place to start. If you're like, I don't know what to do, just use this format. It's effective. I've used it. I've trained other people to use it. So just use this format and to get started, it'll help you out. So I encourage you as a practice goal right now to write down a simple format for your discipleship training meetings. You can use the one I just described in the 4 parts of a discipleship meeting, or you can make your own if you have something else that you like better. I encourage you to please watch the next video on this playlist to learn the #1 goal of effective discipleship. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to it, my YouTube page, and then share it with others.